Oh, hello. If you and I share the common history of being some sort of teacher or other type of educator, have a stay on this video. If you haven't seen Abbott Elementary yet, what are you doing with your life? How are you coping with your job or coming to terms with the past job? If you're not watching it already, please start watching it. It's cathartic AF if you've ever been personally victimized by Regina George. Regina George in this context being the American school system. Now don't worry, this isn't a video of me ranting and raving on the American school system. As much as it deserves a ragging on and a complete reformation. That's a video for another day. That is if it gets requested enough. So get in the comments requesting the out of that video, because I got tea to spill on it. I know this is not tea. It is water in a stainless steel bottle. That's all I have right now. Hush! I'm going to share my personal experience in the American education school system of an old job that I had for reference before I start talking about Abbott Elementary, the show itself, and why it's the show you should be watching if you're in a similar line of work and finding yourself frustrated with the limitations and restrictions that have been placed upon you by school boards, principals, funders, whoever the is telling you how to do your job. Hold on, let me just say some words of affirmation to myself real quick before I rehash the past and relive some old experiences.
You better talk to her before I do, because I'm hurt her feelings.
Okay. So for a period of time, 5 years to be quite exact,
A long periodically time.
I wasn't technically a teacher, but I was something called an educational specialist for a local nonprofit that I ain't saying the name of, you nosy Nellies. I collaborated with school counselors to help them teach their lessons. This is a very specific type of education called social emotional learning, SEL for short. Basically the stuff that you were taught in your guidance counseling classes in school. The job of me and my colleagues was to go on site to these schools in the region and put on special presentations. I can't give too much away what these special presentations entail because it's so highly specific that I fear I might give too much away about what company I worked for. But anyway, we kind of first started the conversations surrounding the lessons that the counselors would then go on to teach their students in their classrooms. And we did it in a very kid-friendly, non-threatening way, starting the conversations with these special presentations. Again, that's as detailed as I can be. Here's an example of teachers in Chicago incorporating SEL into their classrooms every day to promote a more mentally and emotionally healthy learning environment for their students.
This question is part of Miss Stanizak's second grade lesson plan every single day.
In the morning, we talk about what zone we're in. So red's angry, blue's sad, and they have to say why. So I'm in the blue zone because I didn't sleep well last night. Why didn't you sleep well last night? Was there something going on?
This is social emotional learning, or SEL.
It's all about building the relationships and knowing the child inside and outside the classroom.
That's important.
These are schools that are designed to move from a one-size-fits-all factory-style model of education to one that is centered around the needs, interests, and strengths of every single student.
What's your goals to get through today?
Raise my hand for permission to speak. Phyllis Lockett's nonprofit organization founded the Leap Learning Framework, which incorporates SEL strategies. Today, 400 schools across 23 states have all adopted these tools.
And that's not a lot. That's not a lot. Because think about how many schools there are in the United States. Am I sure that my words of affirmation worked?
Including this school in Chicago.
Lead with questions for understanding and not assumptions.
Teachers continuously train for empathy interviews, mentorship, and much more.
What do you do in empathy interviews with the students?
What are some goals you have for yourself? I actually want to be able to solve this math problem in about 6 months. And if they didn't, be like, well, what can we do to make sure that goal is reached later on this year? And just having open conversations with them saying, well, at home, I don't start my homework until 8 p.m. because of this and that. And being able to understand their home lives is different than everyone's home lives.
Your dog is getting bigger.
Yeah, she doesn't tug on the leash anymore.
Students say this kind of attention really makes a difference.
If I was ever sad or upset, the teachers would always let me take a break in the hall, or one would come and talk about it with me in their office.
We come into class and sometimes the teachers will ask us, how do you feel? Are you okay? And then me talking to them will like help me with my schoolwork and just give me that boost of energy I think I need.
So you get it. And yeah, I agree. A school environment that cares about the overall wellness of its students, not just the academic success of its students, is a must-have, right? Not for some school boards, though. Despite the efforts of SEL initiatives from teachers and counselors in schools, it's still not taken seriously by some people in authority who make the decisions about what they will spend school funding on. And SEL programs like the one that I worked in are not always seen as necessary resources for contributing to a better school climate and are often seen as a luxury for schools that can afford it. It's sort of like a mirror behavior for insurance companies that don't view mental health practices as actual treatment for an ailment because it's all in the mind. That's the same mindset going on here with conservative school boards who don't usually prioritize the well-being of students and focus more on unnecessary crap like a new paint job for the gym walls as far as what they want to spend the money that they're given to make their schools better. So of course the mindset of certain people in charge from certain schools, in my case, in my previous line of work, led to funding cuts that made it difficult for me and my colleagues to get into the schools and do our jobs. We had to beg more than half of the schools on our contact list because the calls and emails requesting for our services were getting less and less by the year. So that's my personal history and my beef with the American education system. And it's beef that many of the characters in Abbott Elementary have as well, which is why it's been my main comfort show ever since its debut in 2021. Like, I'm not joking. It is a painfully accurate description of what it's like to be a teacher or some sort of other educator in America. At least from what I know, because I'm an American. I don't know where you're from, but I just know for a fact in America, it's fucked up shit around here. Now, as I was doing research for this video, I actually found out that the show is kind of based on a true story. I came across an article where Quinta Brunson, the creator and protagonist of the show, reveals that Abbott Elementary's premise is based off real-life experiences with her mother being a kindergarten teacher, as well as a certain middle school teacher of hers that is actually named after the show. Her name was Mrs. Abbott, that she credits for not only naming the show after her, but the teacher that inspired her character Janine on the show. And if you haven't seen Abbott Elementary yet, Janine is, first of all, a Sagittarius. Read my Substack on the sign of Sagittarius, and it'll all make sense. No, but really, Janine as a teacher, well, and as a person, really, is very optimistic, has a can-do attitude, and sometimes has a bit of blind optimism that can make her the butt of the jokes of some of her coworkers, especially the school principal, Ava, which we're going to talk about in a second. But honestly, I think it's a big part of why the show just feels so real, and like those of us who do work in education or have worked in education before feel so seen and like we're watching our work lives on TV. Or if you're not watching it like on the actual like TV, like live on the channel, at least on the TV screen, if you're watching it on Hulu like me. Now, another part of the show that makes it hit so close to home is the principal, Ava, who I mentioned before. I mean, she's hilarious as but too accurate a portrayal of some of the people in leadership that you see in some schools. Ava's very selfish, spends the limited funds that Abbott gets on the stupidest shit. For example,
Good morning. Morning. Gregory. The district was so moved by my plea that they approved the emergency budget and sent us the money right away. Oh, hey, we could have hired aides, we could have got rugs. But then I thought, no, we need something more immediate.
Oh, no, the rugs are immediate. They're like instant Xanax for kids. I explained it all in my email.
Girl, who told you to send an email?
You did.
Anyway, I always feel better when I get my hair done. Thus, I do better work, like I'm doing now. You know, fix the outside. Inside takes care of itself. Y'all seeing this?
A plastic sign?
Thank God for the school district, because they gave us $3,000 and I had to spend all of it.
You spent all of the money on this?
Rush job. Can you believe it's quality?
How's that optimism taste?
If you work or have worked in schools, you laugh just as hard as me and are making the same face right about now, because you've dealt with it firsthand. Now, of course, Ava as a character is an exaggerated portrayal of some of these so-called educational leaders in real life, but the cognitive rationale is the same, caring more about image and less about the betterment of students and teachers that contribute to a healthy school climate. And this reflects in the decisions, how they choose to spend the money that their school is given. It seems that every time in the show, when one of the teachers asks Ava for something that would benefit the education of the kids, she's like, nah, and decides to put money into something that would make Abbott Elementary look cooler from the outside. But that's what makes her character so goddamn funny. You've worked amongst people like her, and watching her be a reflection of these people is so cathartic, and you find humor in the circumstances dealing with these people. These unpleasant people that won't let you do your job the way that you need or want to. Now, I know that some of you watching this may not be teachers or work in education, and are just curious about whether or not you should watch Abbott Elementary as a form of enjoyment, or you just love the show and want someone to mirror back that love for the show to you. And that's fine. I mean, you don't have to work in education to find Abbott Elementary funny or relatable. It still showcases themes of any workplace, dealing with professional hierarchies, cross-generational friendships, competition amongst coworkers. There's all sorts of popular sociocultural themes demonstrated throughout the series that many find resonance with, but for those of us who have experience working in the American school system, Abbott Elementary is art imitating life. Now, Abbott Elementary is depicted in the show as an underfunded school in Philadelphia, but many teachers from all different types of school environments and cities have found resonance with it, even if their school is what you would call properly funded. Here's a quote that I found from the Abbott Elementary Reddit thread. Yes, there's an Abbott Elementary Reddit thread. There's a Reddit thread for every these days. Kind of have mixed feelings about that. I teach at a private school in the South, and we're very privileged to have all the resources we have. Abbott is still relatable. Even in the best teaching environments, there's still going to be push and pull between all the different community members and conflicting needs. Students, teachers, parents, admin, board members, you're never going to have all the same priorities in the same order. So there's always going to be those conflicts where everyone thinks everyone else is crazy or clueless. Those of us who have worked in a variety of counties and cities, that each school represents its own unique set of challenges and obstacles. And the show does a really good job with not only showing the real life struggles of underfunded schools, but the representation of the work environment of schools generally. So if you're not watching it now, go watch the out of that show and tell me what you think. But if you have seen it already, let me know how accurate you think it is working in the American school system. But that's about it for today's video. Thank you for watching till the very, very end. And if you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up. It helps the video with reach. And if you and I be vibing, well then how about we vibe some more in the future when you click that button on your screen that says subscribe. It's such an easy thing to do. It is so easy. All you have to do is just find wherever on your screen that it says subscribe. Just give it a little tap like this. Ding! And you know what? You get notified every time I have a new video. Notification squad, what up? And I'll see you later. Bye.